Okay, guys. So now let's quickly just deploy our project, host our project using Firebase hosting. Quickly go and open console.firebase.google.com. Right? So just open that. Uh, okay, guys. So you'll have to create a brand new project from here. So just use your Google email ID to sign in or sign up, right? And we'll create an add project. We'll create new project from here, and we'll give a project name. We'll say React blog, and we'll say continue. We don't want the analytics. We'll create the project, and it will take some time to create the project, don't worry. And so let's just close everything, guys, over here, and we'll get to it once we set up our Firebase project in the console, Firebase console. Then we'll have to configure Firebase in our project as well. So we'll do that quickly. So our project is set up. That's great. And now what you have to do is you have to select the web application. What you want to do, you want to build a web application, right? We'll select this. What should be the web app name? Web app name will be React blog. Set up Firebase hosting. We'll not do it right now, as of now. So what we'll do is just register, and let's create a firebase.js file in my source folder. I'll say firebase.js. Great. Awesome. So now what we'll do is we will just copy this part over here. So this part, whole script part, just copy this, paste it over here, and rename this to const. Okay. This is all the configuration part, guys, that we require. So now what we'll do is we'll just quickly install Firebase. So I'll also do npm I Firebase. You also need to do that. Install Firebase. And once you've installed that, we'll just import it and everything would start working fine, right? So let's just wait for it to install and then we'll proceed further. Great, so it has finished downloading. Now what I'll do is I'll just have to import it and everything would work. So what I'll do is at the top, I'll say import Firebase from Firebase/app. That's it. We will initialize our Firebase from here, right? So now we can just go back over here, go to console, and now we'll quickly go to hosting, select hosting, and we'll quickly jump to hosting and we'll do get started. And again, guys, whatever we are learning over here in Firebase, this is just a glimpse of what is upcoming. So this is just a reminder that we have a boot camp which is upcoming when we'll be creating a Slack clone application using again React and Firebase, and we'll use a lot of functionalities of Firebase. Over here currently we're only using the Firebase hosting as well as the Cloud Firestore, but in the bootcamp we'll use authentication, we'll use storage, maybe we'll use cloud functions as well and things like that, right? So do attend that. Great. So now what we'll do is we'll just follow the instructions over here. We'll copy it. We'll say npm install -g Firebase tools. Do that. Click on next. Then do Firebase login, and we'll open up a browser window for you so that you can select your Google account and then log in via your Google account. Then do Firebase init. So let's do that quickly. So what I'll do now, open the terminal. I'll do Firebase init. That's it. And after that, let's say what happens next. Then you have to just simply do Firebase deploy. That's great. And now you can see like within a few seconds, like we have done this, right? You have to select which part you want to use of Firebase. I want to use hosting. Just use the up and down arrow keys to navigate. And I click hosting, select it, press enter. I'll use an existing project, press enter again. And this will be React blog over here. So we'll use this React blog and we'll say what do you want to use as a public directory. Guys, so things over here is we will build a React project. So that will basically create a build directories for me, and I use that directory for public, right? So once I run npm run build, create React app will give me a build directory and its name will be built, right? So generally earlier when we used to use gulp, it was dist distribution, but here it will be build and configure as a single page app. Yes, we want to configure everything as a single page app, and everything is fine. And let's just see what will happen. Firebase initialization has completed, right? So now what we'll do is we'll basically see that we have firebase.json file over here, which is automatically created for me, right? And now what we want to do is we just want to deploy it. So we'll say firebase deploy, and again we're following the instruction guys over here, right? So just do that and close it. So I'll deploy, and let's wait for a second. Once it's deployed, you'll have one URL. It will give you one URL, and you can just go back to that URL. Obviously, our URL will not work as of now, and we'll see why. It will give you one URL. This is your URL, right? Your hosting URL is this React blogs / this, and let's open it, and nothing will work for sure right now. Why? Because we do not have a build repository as of now, or we do have. We have only one index.html, right? So now what we have to do is we have to do npm run build. So first we have to build our repo, right? Build our project. So create React app will build our project in our build directory, and then we'll deploy again, right? So that will basically then be a React application. So what we can do is we'll just wait for it to finish completing the build. It will delete the existing build, create a new build, and then we can deploy it. Then we will have our project deployed. It is as simple as that, guys. So once we are done with this, whenever you want to deploy application, you just have to run npm run deploy. So we'll add a command in package.json as well. Rather, let's do it right now. So what we'll do is in package.json, we'll add another script, another command over here in scripts, which will say deploy, and this will basically be simply Firebase. Before that, npm run build. First, you will build the project using the build command, and then you'll run Firebase deploy. Firebase deploy. So next time, whenever you make a change in your application, you just have to run npm run deploy. It will first create a build for you, and then it will deploy the application as well. Right? So it's as simple as that. Let's close this package.json. In the meanwhile, it's deploying. What we'll do is we'll go back over here. We are using the hosting part now. We also want to use the cloud Firestore. So we'll go over here. This is the database that we'll be using to store our posts, right? So come over here. We'll set up as well. There are two options: real-time database at the bottom, or rather they have moved it into a separate section over here on the left, right? But we'll be using Cloud Firestore. We'll say create database. We'll start in test mode as of now because we're not creating for production. We'll choose our closest server location. Will be Asia Southeast, enable, and let's wait for that as well. Come back here, and our build has been created. Here you can see our build has been created. Let's remove this one. We don't need this build, which was created by Firebase. And now if I do Firebase deploy, now it will basically take this build over here at the root level. This is our files which is created by create React app, right? So let it deploy. In the meanwhile, this is basically setting up our Firestore, which is our new SQL database, and this is now set up, right? So now since like you have tables in your MySQL database, here what we have is we have collections. So I'll create a posts collection. I'll do next, and now a document is basically like a row in a MySQL database, right? So each and every object in your MySQL database is a row, right? So here it is a document, and a document is in a collection. A collection has multiple documents, right? Posts will have multiple posts. So posts is a collection, and one single post is a document. So we'll auto-generate the ID over here. What fields do we want? We want the title to be some title. We'll add field. It will be sub title. This will be sub, and we'll also have the content part, right? So we'll write some content, we'll save it. And this will create one document, and you'll see, don't worry. Here you see post, it has only one item, which is one post. It has content this, subtitle this, title this. So whenever we create a post from front end, we'll add another document over here. And we'll see, don't worry. Let's refresh this and wait for a second. It is saying that build does not exist. Can't deploy hosting to site React blog because we have done something wrong over here. Okay. Hosting public is build, and that is fine. Destination is index.html. Everything is fine. Okay. Let's try again. Let's do Firebase deploy. Okay, guys. So we have done one thing wrong over here, which is inside the source folder we have done the Firebase in it, right? That's why. So just remove firebase.json from here. We'll delete it. We'll delete the firebase.rc file as well. Firebase rc, delete that. And we'll delete this .firebase folder as well. So this is the thing that we did wrong, which was delete this git ignore as well. So basically we have to do init at the root level, guys. So go back cd ... Now we are at the React blog level. Now we'll do Firebase init. That's it. So we'll wait for that, and now we'll again select hosting and we'll press enter. Earlier what we did was inside source folder we did the Firebase init, right? So we have to do it at the root level. Anyways, use an existing project over here. Use an existing project, and we'll go with React blog, and our public directory will again be build. And yes, I want to configure single page application, and file build index.html already exists. Overwrite it. No, we don't want to overwrite it, right? And now we want to do Firebase deploy, and now everything will work. Okay, so let's come back over here. We have posts, and now what we'll do is once our application is deployed, we'll fetch the posts from here, right? We'll fetch these posts and display in our application, right? And I think deployment is happening, and it is completed. Let's go back over here, refresh, and it should work now. So now we have deployed our application. It's as simple as that. Create post gives me this, home gives me this, England gives me this, right? So let's go back to home, and now let's just quickly complete the fetching part as well as the creating part, right? So first what we'll do is, okay, everything is fine over here. So now what we'll do is we basically fetch the post from the database. So let's see how we can do. So now what we have to do is first we have to grab the Firestore as well. So we'll say import Firebase Firestore. So now we'll have to grab the Firestore as well, because we're using the Firestore to basically store the data and everything, right? So here now what we'll do is we'll say export const Firestore equals to, we'll say Firebase dot Firestore. Now our Firestore will be configured, and we can just use this Firestore to create and get the data, right? So let's quickly go to the source folder, inside a component, inside our app.js file, and inside our home.js rather, and we'll just write a CDM, which is a component mount. And again, this is happening by React snippets. So what we want to do is Firestore dot, and first let's import it. Import Firestore from Firebase file, right? So now what we want to do is over here we want to basically get the posts, right? Get the latest posts. So again, let's go over here. We have this collection name post, right? So what we do is we do Firestore dot collection, and what's the collection name? The collection name is posts, and we want to basically get it, right? So we want to just get it like this. and it will basically return me a promise, which I can do a dot then on, right? Let me just make it a little bit nicer. This also like this, and here it will, I'll just give it a callback, and what we generally get back is we get a snapshot over here. So it's a snapshot, and let's do console.log snapshot. Save it, and over here in our local host, let's reload and let's open the console as well. Okay. Let's just wait for a second. Let's see if it's compiling. It's still compiling. Let's just wait for that. Great. So it has finished compiling. Now let's come back here, and here you can see this is a snapshot, right? And here you can see this is a docs function over here, right? This basically contains our array, which is only one doc, right? So as you saw over here in file store, I told you that we have a collection inside this, we have a document, right? Using those docs function, I'll get an array of documents. Currently, it contains only one document, which is this one, right? So let's get that. So what we'll say is const, posts equals to, we'll say snapshot dot docs. Let's save it, and now let's console log posts over here. And if I save it, refresh over here, let's see. So it should ideally give me an array of posts. Dot docs is not a function. Okay, dot docs is actually not a function, it's an array, right? So let's wait for it, and it should give me one over here, right? So this is basically an array which contains only one document as of now, right? So as you can see, we have a lot of things going on over here, a lot of random stuff over here, right? But what we want to do is we want to basically get the data from this particular item, right? And let's see how we can do it. So what generally I like to do is, let's close this. To play around, what you can do is in our firebase.js, just do window.firestore equals to firestore, right? And that will basically give you the access of Firestore in console, right? So that we can run queries over there. Else we have to basically just do everything again and again like this, right? So now what I'll do is clear the console, do this, and now what we have is we have posts, right? And again, post snapshot.docs is an array. So post will have 0th element, right? And let's do that. And we have this data, right? So what you will see is we have a method called data onto one particular post, right? If I do like this, so this posts array will have multiple posts, right? And multiple posts is basically a document. So what we're actually doing is we're doing document.data. So to get out the data. So here you can see we got the data inside a particular document. So this post is basically a collection of documents. It's an array of documents. So each document, how do we get the data? We get it using .data. And here you can see we have this content, subtitle, etc., which is stored in our Firestore. But ID is missing over here. So ideally what we want to do is we want to get the ID as well. We want to put the ID inside this object, right? So let's do that quickly. So here what we'll do is we'll do a dot map over here, right? And it will get one document, right? So I'll just use the Firestore term instead of using post and things like that, right? And what we want to do over here is we want to return an object. First of all, we'll get the ID. So ID is basically doc.id, right? Inside this document, we have an ID. And if you saw over here, we might have somewhere here ID. Here's the ID, right? This is basically the ID part. So we'll get the ID from here. And then we'll basically do doc.data. Again, this will give me an object, right? So I'll do a separate spread operator over here. So let's see what this gives to me. Refresh, save it. Let's wait for the outcome. And here you see I have an array of object, which is this. Now with this object, we have content ID as well with subtitle and tag. Right? So earlier what was happening is if I simply did doc.data, if I simply returned doc.data, again, a document, if you want to get a data from the document, you have to call the function doc.data, which will give you an object. Right? If I did this, you'll see I'll get the data. Nothing is wrong with that, but I will not get the ID inside it. Right? There's no ID. That's why we are basically doing this. Return an object with ID, especially doing doc.id and doing this, right? So now post is basically an array. Now what I can do is I can use state over here, and post should be an array, an empty array, right? And let's just set state over here. I'll say this dot set state, and I'll do posts over here, right? Posts, save, and now I'll grab post here in the render method. Post from this state, and I just have to go through it, right? I just have to loop over it. I'll say post dot map. I'll get a post, and I'll just write everything over here. This, everything is cool. I just have to use the data. Here I'll say post dot title, right? And this is post dot subtitle, right? Subtitle. I think we'll need to use like this. Post dot subtitle, and also here we'll get the ID as well, right? So we'll use this template literals, right? And here we'll use post.id, right? So just fine. So we have to use a curly bracket over here so that we are using JavaScript over here, right? Because we're using template strings. Save it, refresh, and now our localhost should be working absolutely fine. We have some title from serve, and if I go over here and change this, if I change the content or subtitle, let's change the title to England defeats Iceland. Yes, updated. Go over here, refresh it, and I think it should work fine with the new latest title over here. That is awesome, right? And let's go to create post, or rather post detail, and grab this data, right, and put it inside content. This is the content part. Let's put it over here, update, and now we have the content, right? Let's remove this. Our home is now working fine. So now we have multiple posts over here. So all we need to do is just fetch the post, right? If I go over here to that particular post, you see I have the ID over here, right? So now what I can do is I can grab the particular post from this ID, right? Or what I can do is I can simply pass the post as basically as props to this particular link, right? But we'll go with the second one method where we'll just get the ID from the params from the URL, and we'll fetch the post from Firestore. Let's do that quickly. We'll have post detail over here, and let's go to home, and let's just copy the component date mount over here. Also the state, copy that and paste it over here, and we'll have to import Firestore as well. We'll say Firestore from Firebase, right? And save it. and I think it's should work fine. So post will be an object over here, right? Not an array, right? So a post is single object, single document, right? So we'll get that. So now what we have to do is we have to basically get the ID from the top, right? So what we'll do is basically we'll go over here quickly. We'll say const and we'll get the ID, right? So ID is basically the props inside match, right? So we'll say match equals to this dot props, right? And if I do console dot log match, you'll see this match is basically coming via the since we're using the router, React router, it will give me the match prop, right? So let's refresh, and I think something is wrong. Firebase is not imported correctly. Import it, and let's wait. We have this, right? So this is the match. So we have this params ID, right? So let's get that. So inside this match, we have params, right? And now what we'll do is we'll just get params.id. This params.id is basically the ID which is coming at the top URL, right? And how did we figure it out? We basically go back to our routes in our app.js. You see we have post/id, right? So whatever we name it over here, it will come as that over here. So let's name it post ID, so that you can see as well, and it's more suitable as well. Now it should be post ID. I'll refresh, and let's refresh. Let's see. Now you see this is the post ID, right? So now everything is fine. Now we have got the post ID. Now what we have to do is very simple. How to get that data from that particular document with this ID? As simple as this. Do dot collection dot post. Inside this collection, I want to get the dot document. And the ID of the document is params.postid, and here I'll get a snapshot. Inside the snapshot, what will happen is I just set simply post equals to snapshot dot data, as simple as that. And now I'll just use this post from state. I think something went missing. No, everything is fine. Just get the post from state, this state, and I'll use post dot title, right? And this is post dot content, as simple as that. Save it, and let's go over here, and I think everything is working fine. Yep. This is a warning which is coming that we use class instead of class name. That's fine, guys. You have to use class name instead of class. But we got the data, right? Post.title is not coming appropriately because we have to do this. Save it. Let's go over here and change the name as well. Over here, we'll say England 10 Iceland. Update. Go back over here, refresh. Now you'll see basically all the data is actually coming from our Firestore, right? Let's go to home, and we have the status, this new title. Click over here, we have this data, right? Everything is coming from Firestore. So one thing remains is to create the post. So let's quickly do that as well. Let's go to the create post component. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Let's go to create post component, and what we'll do is we'll create the on submit handler over here in form. So we'll say on submit equals to handle form submit, right? We'll call this function. Spelling is wrong. That's great. Get this handle submit equals to a function, right? And this will basically handle form submit. Let's copy this, paste it, save it, and this should be this dot handle from submit. And here what we'll do is we'll grab all of this title and everything. First we have to keep that in state, right? We'll say title is this initially, subtitle is this initially, content is this initially, that's fine. And now what we have to do is we just have to write on change listeners over here. We say on change equals to, right, and this will basically get the event. We'll say this dot set state, right, and here we'll say title equals to, again we can just write it separately as well inside the class component, but I'm doing it like this, a dot target value, right? So you can totally do it differently in a different function as well, but I'll do like this, right? So subtitle over here, subtitle, and this would be on change will be this will be the content. And also what we have to do is we'll also have to do uh, value equals to, let's get the values from state. We'll say title, subtitle, right, and we'll get the content from this state. We'll use this title over here, right, and let's copy it. We'll use subtitle over here, we'll copy it, and we'll use the content over here. Save it, right, and let's go over here, refresh. And here what we'll do is we'll basically just first of all do one thing. First of all, what we have to do is over here we'll do an event.prevent default. We'll do e.prevent default, but our page does not get reloaded. And now what I'll do is I'll just do console.log this.state for you to know that what we're actually getting into. So if I write title over here, subtitle, content, if I press create post, you see this is the state. This is the latest state. If I change it, this is the latest state, right? Awesome. Now what we have to do is we just have to simply create the post, right? We just have to simply create the post inside our Firestore, right? And how would we do that? It is again as simple as this. First, let's import the Firestore from Firebase, right? So now we have got the Firestore. So now what we have to do is we just have to call the add method on a particular collection. That's it. What we'll say is Firestore dot add, and again I'm not doing any error handling or anything like that, guys. You can do that on your own. So Firestore dot collection. What is the collection name? Posts. We want to add in posts, and what do we want to add? We want to add an object. And what is the object? Object is obviously this dot state, and also created act. We are adding a new field over here, which will be a new date, right? And that's it. Save it, and let's refresh. Let's see over here, which is Spain, also beat Ukraine. Subtitle, awesome goals by Ramos. Some random stuff, right? And let's see if it works or not. I'll say create post. Awesome, it gives me everything over here. Let's go to Firestore. We have another post. Let's check over here. We have content this, created at this, subtitle this, title this. Let's go back to home. And again, we can put a notification over here that we have added the that particular thing. So one thing wrong over here is that this subtitle part, right? So earlier what we did was we have done the subtitle like this. So let's change this. Rather, we cannot change this. We'll basically delete it and add a new field of subtitle, and we'll name it sub. We'll add it, and now in our home.js, we'll use subtitle instead of sub-title. We'll use subtitle. And now I think everything should work. This should be capital. Refresh. And I think everything should work fine. Awesome, guys. So we have finally created our application. We have our Spain also beats Ukraine. This is our a post. Over here, we go over here. This is another post. Obviously, we have some changes that we can make. We can add loaders and stuff like that. We can handle notification also when we create a post, handle notification, everything. That's up to you. You can just use this as a starting project and create this into a bigger blog project. But that's it from my side, guys. So we have finished our blog project, and I hope you will attend the bootcamp, upcoming bootcamp, and there we will learn a lot of Firebase functionalities, and also we will review all of your projects, whatever projects you will submit from the bootcamp. We'll review your projects. We'll basically have to add more functionality of whatever I will add. On top of that, you'll add more functionalities to it. We'll review your projects, and a webinar will be conducted at around 18th or 19th of September at around 7 p.m. something like that. And there we'll select a few projects and we'll display those projects in that particular webinar. Okay, guys. So I think this is it from my side. But again, before wrapping it up, let's do one more thing, which is we have to deploy it. And again, how simple is that? We just have to do npm run deploy and wait for it to finish. Great. So my deploy is completed, and let's go over here, refresh. And I should see 2 blog posts. And we have 2 blog posts. Each blog post is separate. We go to home. We can create a post as well. That's it, guys. So please do check out the code as well from this one. I'll attach the link down in the description box below, and do attend the bootcamp. We'll learn a lot of new things. We'll be working with React hooks as well as with Firebase, a lot of other functionality which we did not see over here today. But again, a lot of good stuff coming up. Do attend that, and stay home, stay safe, and happy coding.
For new programming updates and videos, subscribe to Coding Ninja's channel.